both saved by the grace of God, but one walking with God and the other still dabbling in areas that they shouldn't be. They didn't close all the doors. And that's something that when we work with people in counseling, is we help them shut all of those doors. For an example, I've done a talk to youth groups a number of times, and one of the visuals that I show them is I'll go to a door and I'll open it up when I start talking about open doors. And I'll say, what is this? And they'll say, that's an open door. And then I'll close it, but I'll leave my finger in it. And I say, well, what is this? And it takes them a minute, but then they realize, well, that's still an open door.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening with some of the experiencers who have been able to stop the experience in its one time, but the experiences keep happening. It's because they haven't gone through the process to actually stop this experience completely by shutting the doors. And there is an actual process that we use that we take them through. It's called the 8 R's to Freedom. And once you go through the full 8 R's, you will be free from this experience. Now, I've got experiencers who say they're still getting harassed by the demonic entities, but not the grays.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is once you've gone through this and you're set free from it, from the abduction experience, they can no longer come in the guise of the grays or the reptilians or the Nordics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That experience has been uncovered. Okay? That lie has been uncovered. Michael Heiser uses the name of his book, the facade.
Right.
They can no longer come in that facade. You've uncovered that facade. Does it mean you won't be harassed by the enemy anymore? Absolutely not. The enemy's going to continue to harass us. The enemy harasses all of us in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
If we're walk-to-walk believers, believe me, the enemy wants us to stumble. As examples, he can show God, look, he stumbles.
Mm-hmm.
He's not perfect. But we're not supposed to be perfect anyway. We're forgiven. But that's part of the battle that's happening here. And I've seen that with some of the experiencers where they still get demonic harassment, but never again in the form that they uncovered.
What's an example of a doorway that people leave open?
Dealing in paranormal activity, psychic activity, tarot cards, horoscopes, all of those things can be open doors because we know those are not of God. Actually, these are the things that God told us to be wary of and to stay away from. Divination was the term, I think, and actually in dealing with familiar spirits. All those things were doorways to dealing in the demonic realm.
Mm-hmm.
What's fascinating is when I see people open these doors, it's usually not one door that comes open. It opens many doors. A lot of the times the abduction experiencers aren't just abductees. They're also dealing with psychic abilities, paranormal activity in the home. All sorts of weird stuff is happening. Not just one. It opens the whole doorway to the demonic realm.
That's an interesting connection to the research of Russ Dizdar, whom we've had the opportunity to interview several times. He's a deliverance minister of a more traditional sort, I guess. Roman Catholics would call him an exorcist, but he also talks about doorways. And he's also made connections to research conducted by the U.S. government. We don't have time to go into that here, but there are some very strong parallels between what he does and what you do. And we just have a couple minutes left, Joe, so I want to focus on how people can get in touch with you and David Ruffino, Jim Wellhumson, Alien Abduction Crisis Centers of America. Where do they go for information, and who do they contact if they're in need of help?
They can go right to the aaccoa.org site. And on that site, it has all the contact information for the counselors that we have available now. Of course, there's the three founders, Jim and Dave and I, and feel free to contact any of us. I prefer talking by phone, and I've actually tried to get Jim and Dave to talk more by phone. It's more personal than doing email. You might want to make your first contact by email, but I try to do all my work by phone. Also now, you'll see they've listed on there the other counselors that have come on board. We got one in Ohio. We got another one in California. We got Canada. There's another one here in Florida that's working with us. And more and more are coming on board with us so that somewhere around the country, somewhere close to you, we will have a counselor available.
This is a unique area of research. I don't know of anyone else that's actively involved in doing deliverance ministry specific to alien abductees or experiencers. And but now that we pieced the information together, and the research indicates that this is one huge delusion that's being foisted on us by the enemy. It is an area that is an area of work, a ministry field that is sorely needed. And so, Joe, you're in our prayers, you and your team, and we anything we can do to be of help, you just call on us and let us know.
Thank you, and the best thing you can do is just get this message out there to make it available, that people know they have a place to come. They know that there is hope for what they've been going through.
Joe Jordan, he's with Alien Abduction Crisis Centers of America. The website is aaccoa.org. Joe, thanks again for being with us today on PID Radio.
Thank you, Derek. It's been great.
I believe this is one of the reasons why we're looking at fallen angels. It's the great cosmic deception which will be foisted on the entire planet. Yeah, I believe it's a coming great deception when these so-called aliens, which are nothing more than fallen angels, will come and then tell us the great lie, which is that the aliens or the fallen angels created us. They genetically manipulated us, that they are responsible for all the miracles of both the Old Testament and the New Testament, that in fact they were the ones that genetically manipulated and were responsible for the world's great religions, like, let's say, Buddhism, Jesus, Moses, that all these miracles that are attributed to these holy, wise men and sages were nothing more than E.T. intervention. And now, because we've tried to blow ourselves up, basically, they are going to intervene lest we completely annihilate the human race. And, of course, I believe this is what I call the coming great deception of a Luciferian endgame. you.